Great to be here. And mic'd up. This is pretty fancy. It is good to be here. And Pastor Don rang when I was on my way down here. I meant to leave at 9 o'clock, to be honest. I meant to leave at 9 o'clock, but I didn't. I got here about maybe 2 minutes past 10. Just squeezed in. But anyway, and I'm grateful we got a time up there because I don't want to go over too far, you know what I mean? We get used to a certain time in church, don't we, sometimes? Yeah, okay. I'm not a pastor and I'm not a practicing preacher. I did go to Bible college for 2 years and then I worked in a Bible college for 9 years, so I know a whole lot about the Bible. Yeah? Not really. Well, I know I know what the Bible say. You know, there's some people I know that quote a verse here and quote a verse there, and they can do this and that with scriptures. But I know some verses, I can quote off bat, but I know what the Bible says. You know what I mean? I know what's right and wrong when people try to do stuff. So it's a little bit different today, and I hope that's okay with you all. So as an Aboriginal fellow, I think it's good to share with you a little bit about how God has been working in my life, and I'm not representative of a whole lot of people, but I am one of those people. You get where I'm coming from? I'm from the Grange people, the top of the Coorong, Rauken, and I keep telling people, don't say Rauken, there's no L in it, all right? When you have a row with somebody, you have a bit of a disagreement, row, it's spelled R-O-W, so row. So Rauken, that's how we say it, Rauken, Point Macleay mission. My grandfather was born there, he lived there. I never lived there, I've been there a few times. My mother was born down Blackford, just outside of Kingston, a little community that was down there then. And the funny thing, I'll mention that when I get on to connection to Baptist churches, but Mum was born down Nyngan, Blackford I said. I was born in Nyngan, New South Wales, so it's a little bit over the place, isn't it? So, but my connection to the Baptist churches begins way back. When I first come to Adelaide, at the end of 76, I was staying in a share house with some people. I wasn't a Christian, the share house was in Colston Street, Cheltenham. So some of you know where we worship now. We worship in the Baptist church in Cheltenham. So it's a funny how things work out in life, you know what I mean? But also, I was baptised down here, somewhere along one of these beaches along here. I can't remember, it might have been Semaphore. I could say Grange this morning, can't I? But it was one of these beaches along here I was baptised because I'll get into the little bit of story how I became a Christian a little bit later. So I was baptised in one of these beaches down here. And when I went to Bible college in Narangrup, United Aborigines Mission Bible College, we used to go into the Baptist church in Narangrup. This is 1983-84. And so I was helping in the Sunday school there in the Baptist church, so that was pretty cool. We come back from WA. We had a couple of children. I got married over there. We had a couple of children born over there. And we come back to Mount Gambier, and guess where I went? Baptist church. So there's a connection along the way, Baptist church. And then back before that, early days in Adelaide, when I come to Adelaide in 1976, I used to know a fellow called Sonny Howard, and his son is Jason, who's over at Unley Baptist. So that's a connection there. And then there's also, I have a connection to the Westcare Baptist. I've been in there a couple of times, and I'm teaming up with a fellow there named Luke. He plays the piano. He's pretty cool. And he's going to be accompanying me in some music together soon. So I'm going to be doing a couple of songs at the fundraising event in 15th of October in St. Peter's Cathedral So that's going to be, and I want to do that. I want to get back into my music. So I've had some connections with the Baptist Church. My early childhood and schooling was down in the southeast. I went to kindergarten in Ballarat. It snowed there that year, 1960. And the funny thing is, I had to get all my hair shaved off. Well, I wasn't bushy then, but I had to get all my hair shaved off because I got ringworms. I caught it off somebody, and I had to get all my hair shaved off, and so that wasn't very enjoyable. But anyway, my sister was born there in 1960, and we moved back to the southeast. I went to grade 1 down at Nangwarry, then grade 2 and 3 and 4 on a dairy farming property in Glencoe. So it was pretty interesting growing up. I was the only dark kid at school them days. You know, in the country school, there's no Indian or African or Aboriginal kids, so I was the only thing. And as far as discrimination, I don't know if I remember racist kind of stuff or discrimination. Or there may have been, there probably was. But if you was a bit chubby, if you was too skinny, too tall, you had buck teeth, you had freckles, you wore glasses, you know, you didn't play footy or netball, you were kind of an outcast, you know what I mean? To the normal run of kids. And so there was all this different kinds of discrimination. And, you know, I suffered discrimination too, but it wasn't about, I enjoyed being there. And I had good friends. And I think I got a photo there, and we can't cover everything, you know, but I got some photos there, and there was one boy there. I was showing this teacher my class photo. I got one class photo from school. Can you believe that? At least I got one. And the teacher looked at the boy next to me and she said, that's her brother-in-law. I said, oh, is he still alive? She said, yeah. So, okay. So I gave him my card, and he rang me, and we caught up last year. And, you know, how long ago was that? 1969. I was 10 then. I'm 69 now. So it was like 59 years ago. We caught up last year, and I was thinking, I hope we didn't fight or I was mean to him, you know. But he reckoned I was his best friend. And I was thinking, that's crazy, you know. But so, and I engage with kindergartens and schools, you know, at my work, and I show these kids these photos, you know, when I was their age and stuff. And if you got a friend, you can have a friend for life, man. You know, it's good to make friends and keep them. So then we moved into Millicent, grade 5, and 1965. I think we moved into Millicent. Then life was a little bit more different. You know, we could have come into different kind of lifestyle, and I didn't know my father. Never knew my father. Still don't know who he was. And Mum never used to like talking about him, so I just left it. Okay, I just left it. I had a stepfather when I turned 4. So Mum married this English fellow when I was about 4. So I had a stepfather up until I was about in grade 6, and he left. I was glad he left because he wasn't very good to me. He was a bit rough, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, I left school early. Maybe second year high school, I think. I left before they told me to leave. I don't know. Maybe there was a reason for that, I don't know. But I left midway through year 9 or something, second year high school. And so I got mixed up with the wrong crowd of kids, right? Started smoking and getting into drinking alcohol and drugs and stuff like that there. So it wasn't very good. But Mum was always there. She was, as later years I realised that Christ is always there for us, regardless of, you know, how we tangle ourselves up in life. Jesus is there. But Mum was always there for me. And I got into this wrong crowd of people, and we did crime in Millicent, 6 of us. Got in 2 cars and we took off to WA. I don't know what we're going to do, you know. We got caught at Norseman. I did 2 weeks there because of my age. Then I got out and I didn't know where to go. I went down to Esperance, got back up to Kalgoorlie, got tangled up with the wrong crowd again, did crime, ended up in Mount Newman thing. Police caught up with us, so I ended up in Fremantle Prison, juvenile yard. I was 16. Bit scary, because when you turn 17, they put you in with the men. So, but you look back and you see that God's in your life along the way. You know, I remember Mum telling me when we was in Ballarat, I drew this picture of a church, so I could see it from the backyard of our house in Ballarat. I don't know, it must have been a big church, must have been a big thing, but I drew a picture of this church. You know what I mean? So when I was in Fremantle prison, I got the original copy of the letter that I wrote to my mum, and this is the first time she knew where I was. You know, and this is 1971. I also wrote a poem about the room that I was in. And cells back then are not like cells these days. I go into Mobilong prison. Well, I don't go into all the cells, but a little bit different. There's not much in the cell back in them days. And so I wrote about what was in the cell in the room. The last verse, I said, "I've no brother in this room. I think about my sister in this room. I think about God above in this room. Is God in this room? Am I a room for God?" So I wrote that. I probably just turned 17. So when you look back, you see God, he's trying to chip away, he's trying to get into your life from time to time. 9 years later, I became a Christian. In the years after that, I grew up in Millicent. I played sport just about every week of my life. I played 5 or 6 competitive sports. I was very fit, which kept me alive because I was still into drugs and alcohol. When I came to Adelaide, 1976, I got connected up with the Aboriginal Evangelical Fellowship, which some of you might know of, and I started attending the AEF youth group and stuff like that. And there was a couple of street preachers. Now, I think I got the names right, Harry Orange and Bob Simpson. I don't know if anybody might know them, but they used to preach in Rundle Mall. Right? Yeah, not Hay Street Mall, Rundle Mall. Right. And so we used to listen and like to them when we was downtown, and I got to listening to them really good. And started attending a home church that they had. And when Leighton Ford, I'm pretty sure it was Leighton Ford or someone with his team come out to Adelaide, and in 1980, and through the tennis club, my friend Pastor Bob Brown invited me to go along to an event. So I went along, and I can't remember exactly what the preacher spoke about, but when they invited me to go down the front, or anybody, I went down and I gave my heart to Jesus, to the Lord that night. I didn't feel much different that night, well, not that I can remember, but the next day, Sunday morning, I was staying in a hostel called from the Aboriginal Sobriety Group because I was trying to get off drugs and alcohol. And so, like when I when I walked from there through this park, man, I shouted. I think I literally shouted that it's happened to me. I became a Christian. I don't know if anybody heard me, but that's how I felt. I felt really kind of out there. I felt really happy, you know, that this has happened to me. So that was a bit of a journey, you know, but that, and God met me there. So I might just skip over a little bit here. I think I might just look at some Bible verses, because usually when you got to at least say something from the Bible, don't you? Oh, I've got to be careful about that. Yeah, you got it. I'm still all right? Yeah, good. Okay. It's funny. So I want to share a couple of verses, some scripture with you. We're not going to open them up too much and stuff like that. But I believe in a creation period of 6 literal 24-hour days. I just want to get that out there. That's what I believe in Genesis chapter 1. That's what I believe in. That 6 literal 24-hour days. Okay. The other one is Deuteronomy 29:29, which talks about the secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do the words of this law of the Bible, God's law. Psalm 139 is a good one, isn't it? Especially when you think about like our life, and God knew us, God knew me in my mother's womb, you know, and when He pieced me together, in my mother's womb. He knew my days. He knows today. He knows my thoughts, and he knows what's going to be happening. So, regardless of what's going on in the world, this, that, and the other, it's been a tiring year for me as an Aboriginal fella. I don't want to get bogged down in political and cultural and social sort of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. But God knows all about what's going on, and He's in control. We might think governments and organisations think they know what's going on, and they do pretty well. We live in a society, we benefit from a whole lot of stuff, don't we? Technology and the cars we drive, and although GPS didn't help me out this morning, that's got a mind of its own, isn't it? But God's GPS is okay. You know what I mean? He knows what's going on. And Romans 10:14 prompted me to go to Bible college, because when we used to go down the early days, we used to go down the mall and we used to hand out tracts, and there was one lady, an elderly lady, Miss Lovey Bond. Lovey Bond. What a beautiful name. I don't know if anybody remember her, but she used to stand on the corner of the shops and hand out tracts, and I always remember her. But we used to go down there and share, and sometimes we get a bit tangled up because people ask us some curly questions, and we didn't know which way to go with it. So that prompted me to go to Bible college and see what was going on a bit more. And the funny thing, when I was there, we had one subject called homiletics. Now, some of you know what that means. When I went to Bible college, I thought it was all about things in the home, you know what I mean? Doing stuff around the home and all that sort of thing, but you soon realise that it's to do with the art of preaching and delivering kind of a message and stuff like that. So, but there was a lot of things we learned at Bible college, and also it was a country setting. It was off the road, out of town, and sometimes people thought that, when we had here, we protected. Satan's down there, on the main road. He hadn't come into the property, but it's not the case, is it? We have a battle, and wherever we are, the spiritual battle is always going on. And regardless, and especially with things going on these days, I'm always reminded of that verse, Ephesians 6:12. It talks about we wrestle not against flesh and blood. It's not against flesh and blood. It's against principalities, powers, spiritual wickedness in high places. And Australia is not exempt from being tangled up in all this evil spiritual kind of warfare going on in the world, and we witness that, don't we? From time to time, and what's going on? So I think it's good to be here and share with you, and I'm sharing things with you so that sometimes you talk to people and you wish you'd like to told it. A few other people would have heard what you said, So that's what I was sharing with you. Currently, I work at the Salvation Army at Ingle Farm. I've been there for 12 years. This year, I think 12 years. It's been a healing place for me because although I have 3 adult children at home, the oldest and youngest live at home because of kind of personal problems and issues they have in life, and they don't go out, they don't engage much. Although they do, they're bright people. They're involved with stuff, but they don't engage with society because of anxiety and stuff like that. My middle daughter did 3 years at UniSA and did a bachelor in IT. So she's a software engineer. Her and her partner have just bought their own house. Well, they're buying it. So it's a mixed bag, much like anybody, you know what I mean? And the other thing is that I've been separated for about 12 years. And it's interesting, when you talk to men and partners about life and how you manage this sort of stuff, we never fought or argued, or maybe we did early part, but we sorted that out. And we still don't fight or argue. And maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Is it the problem? Because I know people who fight and argue and they carry on and they're still okay. You know what I mean? But I'm still a dad. I'm still a parent. We parent together. We separate parenting. You know, so I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on in life, and you know, and part of my work is I talk to men and stuff about like things like that. So it's just a minute past 11. You probably didn't know that, but I do. Can I have a drink of water? Ah, that's good. I've got to make sure I don't hit the microphone too. Pastor Don, so I'm going by his kind of leading and thing. And I don't know if I've done it here before, but I'm going to do it today. Is that okay with you? I'm going to sing. You don't mind that? I never learned. Well, I did learn to sing a little bit. We had an Aboriginal theatre group back in the late 70s. And so we did theatre, like singing and stuff like that. But I'm going to do a song journey, which I call. It's talking about our people. It's my song journey, but it's talking about our people and how God, through Christian music or through his involvement with the country, as a 4-part song journey. The first part is in language, right? And so Aboriginal people used to live in the bush when the settlers in the country, Cook arrived. We were living out in the bush. We had a language. The second part, we kind of moved into the edge of country towns. That's why I kind of lived on the edge of country towns. Some people lived on missions, reserves. So we come into the English kind of language and gospel and, part of society. And then the city, rock and roll, rap, and all sort of stuff. So it's a little bit more kind of involved in society. And then the world, classical, the higher echelons of music, some would say. And so Aboriginal people and the different genres of music that the Christian thing influenced Aboriginal people. And so some of our people got involved with that, Jimmy Little, country western, other people in the language. They take the cultural sort of stuff, the different parts of the world, rock and roll and rap. I'm not a great rapper. I don't know if there's any rappers in the room, but rapping is just kind of like saying something, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then the fourth part is in the classical opera. And so I want to share that with you now, and then I'll go and take my seat. Catch up with you after. Wanalgo, ngai Jesus, wanalgo, nanago do, balago do, ngai balana, wanalgo, ngai Jesus, wanalgo, wanalgo. Telephone to glory, oh what joy divine, I can feel the current moving on the line, made by God the Father for his very own. You may talk to Jesus on this royal telephone. You may talk to Jesus on this royal telephone. When I was a boy and things were going fine, my mother without my father said she loved me true. But here in my heart it's hard to understand how hard it is to tell you what I feel inside. From one friend to another, do you understand? You ought to feel the pressure deep inside. I don't suppose you thought of things to say to me. Well, that's what I've expected. I found it hard myself. So what we need to do is have a little talk about the way we feel and what we're going to do to try and understand what it means to be a friend. You know what I just thought? You don't mind listening. Come on, everybody, got to get to school. You know the teacher waiting there just for you. You got to get your books and not your looks. Come on, everybody, let's move the boots. Come on. Come on, everybody. Come on. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, sing for the night is old. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna forevermore. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna forevermore. Thank you. Just one little closing remark. We're from the bush. We come through, we join and sing, but we're going to the heavenly city, the New Jerusalem, yeah? With everybody. Thank you.